Weird, why am I not getting volume? Better. All right. All right, let's do a new look at Urtuk. Haven't touched this game in a couple months. It was excellent prior to this, still in early access or development or whatever they want to call it these days. Have a little look around what's going on with it. I'm gonna go with brothers that we liked, which I think were something like this, right? You start as a weaponsmith. Huh. Morning, Care Bear. Do we want to try a different start?
A renewal. Welcome back.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Zarnan. Can't seriously be Thanksgiving today. Is that tomorrow? Thanksgiving's around Thursday. I'm gonna literally Google that right now. Yes, tomorrow. All right. So you're wishing for the future. I'm like, fuck, did I forget today was Thanksgiving? But no. No, you didn't. Thanks, Arnon. Good morning, Jack TP. Hey, Nobu. Urtuk? No, Urtuk. It's Urtuk. Christ. 2 inaccuracies this morning. Thanksgiving tomorrow. Urtuk, Urtuk. Already triggered. Already triggered. Good morning, Nobu. Velocity weapon. I haven't read that book. What's that book? I want to feel included in the conversation in my chat. All right. Do we want to start a different start or start the same start? ABG. Find out. Let's find out. Yeah. All right, screw that up. Why is my poll in the random corner of the fucking screen? No, no. Ah! Not that one. Poll. Move poll. Get off my lazy ass and read it. I'm reading other books. You can't just read the first book that comes to your mind. I have standards. Hey, Rice. Hey, Boundless. Morning, Absolute Royale. Love my Urtuks off. Thanks, Jang. All right. We got decisions to be made. In the meantime, do you guys know the Reddit forum, Am I the Asshole? I'm gonna give you one of those right now from my life yesterday. So yesterday I had to come into the office. I had to edit a PDF, sign it, send it back kind of stuff. And when I'm at home normally right now, since I don't have any devices logged into my home account, my internet account at home except my phone. So I've been using my phone for all this shit. But this required something that I couldn't do on my phone easily. So I went to the office to do that yesterday. Among other things, answer emails, do all the admin shit that I do on Tuesdays, right? But anyways, came into the office. I'm driving through. I need to like draw this. Maybe I can draw this in paint. Do we want to draw in paint as we tell a story? I want to know. I want to know, chat. Am I the asshole here? I think not, but maybe I am. If I am, you know, I can live with that. But I want to know. All right, fair talk. I like your music, but I'm gonna turn that music down just a little. It's too intense. I've had coffee, but too quiet now. Dude, I need 24% as a setting. All right, so let's see if I can draw this. If I have to ask, no. Doesn't make true. I think I'm looking for validation, but maybe I just want to share a story. It might just be both. Arcicia, welcome back. Thank you for the 44 months, and Master Maticus for 4 months. Cheers.
Quitters never win.
All right, so I need to add paint. Add. Window capture? Yeah. There it is. I see paint now? All right, we're gonna just do a really basic, dude, no, don't put paint right over the pole. That wouldn't make any sense. Let's leave the pole up. Leave the paint up. Leave the face up. All right, we got all the things on the screen. Yeah. Happy to judge me? Perfect. All right. So I'm going to give you a really basic picture because I don't think there's any reason to make it more basic than this. You ready? Okay. I need shape drawer. Which one's shape drawer? Your shape drawer, right? Can I draw a... All right. Okay, this is a building. This is a building. Maybe I'll label them. Let's label them. Oops, Auric? No, work. Okay. Building. Okay. I need a line. How do I draw a fucking line? Line? Line. Good. Okay. Alright. Gotta set this up. It's gotta have proper context. Proper context. If it doesn't have proper context, doesn't work. Context doesn't work here. So, oops. How is that a shape? Not a shape. Give me a shape. All right. Line. I'm getting there. Okay, these are parking lots. Mostly I'm just giving you guys time to vote. Okay, chat? So remember, if you're watching this and you're just fucking blown away by paint, which is, it's understandable, you know, this is an impressive program. In the meanwhile, just take a second to vote, okay? Because we're gonna decide some stuff. All right. So, all right, I don't want to draw a car in this. Just maybe draw an arrow. Can I draw arrows? I'm sure there's an arrow in here somewhere. Well, let's just do this, okay? So, this is a kind of little industrial area, right? This is like a market kind of deal. This building over here, labeled building. This is where I work. There's a divided parking lot right here. So there's a back parking lot behind this building and then a front parking lot in front of this building, okay? All right, this is the road coming into it. This road's a little bit slow because it's essentially off the main street and it's just directly into an industrial area, all right? So I am driving down this road, this direction. I need to draw arrows on that. Can I free draw them with pencil? Pencil seems like a scam. Pencil's not going to be enough. Okay, we're going that way. Okay? Maybe we undo these. Undo that, draw it with pencil. Alright. Driving like this. The plan, of course, is in a second to take a turn and go park in front of my work so I can go to work. Okay? Alright. Google Street View. That would be smart. I don't know. I don't know if I want to put that out there, Care Bear. Maybe for a little bit of plausible deniability, etc. I'm sure there's like, anyways. So this is a bit of a blind corner out of this parking lot because the turn onto this street, this building really kind of extends a little bit further into the street than that. So the from the lower parking lot, which is a back parking lot and not used as much, this parking lot's super used, and the parking lot over here, which I didn't draw, but I guess I could throw in here, is super used as well over here, right? This is another parking lot, right?
Urtuk, the king is back.
Welcome, Gamer Bastion. Welcome back, man. Cheers. All right. Anyways, so I'm just driving to work here. And this is a pretty blind parking lot here. So a woman starts to pull out into me, basically. So I'm maybe like right there, and she's not stopped, not seen me, and is basically about to T-bone me here. So I kind of swerve out of the way a little bit and honk to get her attention because like she's not seeing me, she's not stopping. I 100% of right away. She's coming out of a parking lot. I'm on a road and she almost hits me. Okay? All right. Everything's fine here. If she just like at this point like stops, looks a little concerned, maybe waves, you know, we just go about our day. We're good. That's fine. You know, this shit happens. Like no one got hurt there, no one got hit. But instead, After I honk, she stops, glares at me, and honks.
Returned.
Which, for some reason, sets me off. And I think it's the idea of this, right? Which is, she's in the wrong. I have right away here. She's in the fucking wrong. Why the fuck does she think she have any right to do that to do that to me or do that at me, right? Why does she think she has any right to be upset with me? All I fucking did was drive in the appropriate way on the appropriate street, going to a normal location. Okay? Well, it doesn't stop yet, Nobu. So I stop my car in the middle of the road and get out. And her friend in the passenger seat leaps out of the car and rushes over to argue with me in the street. Which, for me, yeah, it's true, Sally. Sometimes the reaction to embarrassment is acting to act aggressively, but that's not a plus. If you ask me if that was a failure of trait, I would probably say yes, right? Which is, you should master that. You're embarrassed? All right. You want to be angry because you're embarrassed? Fuck you. You're embarrassed because you did something wrong. That doesn't give you the right to be angry. That part's a little scary. Which part? Her rushing over and me getting out of my car. Because the thing that pisses me off is people have done this to me before, right? Which is, I did this one time where I was crossing a road. And I crossed this road. There was a car. And I'm on a bike, and it's a busy road. So my timing was let the car go by me and go behind the car on a bike, right? For crossing a road. And the person sees me kind of like hanging out. I think I'm in 2 lanes already, waiting for them to go through so I can pass the other 2 lanes, right? Because they're on it's a 4-lane, 2 lanes either side, and they're a divided highway, or not divided highway because it's not divided, but it's just 4 lanes in a row, and I have to cross the street on a bike. And the person slows down and like honks at me. And then, because they think I'm like going to pull in front of them, I'm waiting for them to go. And it really pissed me off because I'm like, I'm waiting for them to go. All they have to do is go by and we'll be good. And them honking at me. I really don't like, I guess maybe I don't like being honked at. Anyways, so the point of this is she's in the fucking wrong. She's honking at me. And I'm really not willing to take that sometimes. Like sometimes it's just like, this triggers me. I'm to the point where like, I don't want people to think that they just get to do whatever the fuck they want because they're in a car. There's repercussions to this. You have to deal with people as people. So anyways, this is why you keep your axe behind your seat. So I got in my car and I'm like, why the fuck are you honking at me? You don't have right of way here. You're in the wrong. And maybe we have maybe like a 3-minute argument in the street. Gets a little bit heated. She's yelling insults at me. I'm yelling insults at her. I'm happy with this exchange. My point, my reason for doing this was very, very simple. I don't want to leave the behavior of, hey, this person's in the fucking wrong and thinks they can beep at people when they're wrong without challenging that. I want to make that a non-standard thing for her. I want her next time she fucking decides she does something wrong and instead of owning it and apologizing or owning it and going about her day, she thinks she can aggress on someone for that. I want her to think there's fucking repercussions to aggressing on people for this. And maybe they're mild repercussions. Maybe you get in a conflict you don't want, but I'm not conflict averse. Conflicts don't scare me. They don't concern me. Like I'm willing to get in a conflict if things I believe in are being contested. Let me just give another story. And, it's a little bit scary. I'm a 6'2" guy. I'm not a particularly big guy. I'm a fairly lean build. But, like I get out of the car and I'm angry. Maybe there's 2 women in a car. Maybe that's a little bit sketch. I don't know. I got a roommate who I lived with for a number of years. And he told a story as a kid in a car. A guy honking at his dad was at a traffic light and apparently wasn't, like the traffic light turned green and it turned green and his dad wasn't going fast enough for the guy behind him. The guy behind him honks. And his dad gets out of the fucking car and pistol whips the guy. Now, that seems like an unreasonable response to me. But, So anyways, I'm trying to look at this in context here. I'm missing subs too. Thank you, Razusai. And did I miss Machine Boy as well? I think I might have. So cheers, guys. So the question is, am I the asshole here for doing this? What do you guys think? No? Negative? Maybe a little? Or I can maybe do it maybe a little. And I could have just ignored it. I could have ignored her honk and gone about my day. But it really it didn't really it actually pissed me off. She's not in the right. And maybe this is like, if you describe Filthy on like one of these pie charts of like all the character alignments, I'm probably lawful evil, right? Like that's probably my alignment. And maybe it's just a violation of social norms. But this is one that pisses me off. This is one that pisses my wife off, right? My wife is like the nicest person ever. And she rarely feels justified in being angry at people. But one of the things that really sets her off, where she feels, I think this is because it's justifiable, right? She really hates people who take advantage of shared resources, right? Who abuse shared resources. And that for her, I think, is a legitimate reason for her to get angry. And she allows herself to get angry over that because she sees it as a legitimate violation. And this is a little bit like that for me, which is this feels like a legitimate violation of a social contract, right? She fucked up. Social contract responsibility is she assumes ownership for that, apologizes, or just could perpetuate that, doesn't claim she's in the right while moving forward. Definitely scared the shit out of her. I don't know. Her friend like jumped out of the car. She never got out of the car. I never even interacted with the driver. It was her friend. And her friend jumped out of the car and was screaming at me, said some shit like, I own a business here. You know, you better fucking slow down, blah, blah, blah. I told her, you know, I had words for her. You know, because I don't give a fuck if she owns a business here. I don't give a shit if she's the fucking president of the United States here. She's violating the laws of this situation and thinks she's in the right because of it. Thinks she gets to fucking yell at me when she's in the fucking wrong. Are you insane? So did I block traffic? Now this is a pretty low usage street here because it just leads to some apartments behind where I work and a couple working parking lots here. So no, there was no one behind me. It was kind of middle of the day. No one behind me kind of deal. So maybe she thought she had the right of the way. No, she didn't think she had the right of the way, or her friend didn't. Anyways, their friend never claimed, no, I get to go here. And her friend's claim was essentially, I don't even know what her friend's claim was. I was going too fast apparently, and that lets her, I mean, and even that's wrong, right? I have time to see her, react to her coming out, honk at her to get her to stop, swerve out of the way, and she still hasn't stopped. She's clearly taking a blind curve with no thought as to what's going on, no attention to the situation that's happening. Filthy Karen? I think the other way around. I really think I think this was a Karen I was dealing with. Karen tried to tell me because she's a business owner in this area, I don't have the same rights she has. You fucking kidding me? You know, this is one of the things that this reliably triggers me when people step on my individual rights. I do not like being treated unfairly, and I find that to be a particularly aggravating experience. This is what happened with WotC. This is what really burnt my bridge with WotC. Is I felt like the experience was WotC as a company was not treating me fairly and refused to be transparent as to why they weren't doing that and gave me no recourse to deal with that. And when I reached out for clarification, they blew me off. Like, that type of behavior reliably triggers me. Feels like white people problems. I don't know how you get race out of that. Feels like a really dumb thing to say. So I don't know, chat. Two wrongs don't make a right. How is it a wrong for me to correct someone being wrong? I want to hear why that's a wrong. So let's have this conversation, chat, because you know, I left that experience invigorated. And I kind of like, the only thing I wish that is when the adrenaline hits you, you know, you lose a little bit of your cognitive functioning. So I wish I had been a little bit quicker on some of the things I had to say without being quite as emotional, but I'm okay with the experience of yelling at someone. Let me just catch up on chat comments. Should have let her T-bone me. I don't think that's a particularly good option. Right, disrupting this traffic by stopping? No. There's no one behind me. There's not a very busy street. Depends more on my interaction with her. If it's confrontational, I think a little bit, but to kill them with kindness and you're good to go. You know, maybe that would have been the way to do it, to kill them with kindness. But the friend jumping out and like rushing towards me, kind of like short, fat woman with fucking an act like a cigarette in her hand, moving aggressively towards me out of the car, definitely didn't put me in a mind to kill them with kindness. It made me want to kill her with an axe. Now, I say that jokingly. It made me more annoyed that this woman feels justified. I kind of hate that emotion, right? I hate the smug emotion of someone who's in the wrong thinking they're right. It really makes me want to correct them. Let's see what else we have here. Maybe her friend didn't look where she was driving, for sure. Didn't block traffic, you're an asshole. Okay. Could have parked in front of her. I'm not trying to retaliate by yelling at them, no ceilings. The point of it is not I want to do wrong to them because they've done wrong to me. The point of it is I want them to not leave the situation feeling like they were in the right because they weren't. Go on. Rationally, you rarely get anything out, so it'd be better to ignore it. Possibly, but I do think that part of what you owe, if you have leanings and morals, part of what I think you owe is to try to make, it's not the wrong way of saying it, it's not enforce your morality. It's more along the lines of, if someone breaches social contract or breaches laws, part of you ignoring it is encouraging that. And part of you pointing it out and making it have a cost discourages that. And I feel some obligation to do that. I'm not going to look the other way as some fucking asshole steals a bike or, you know, whatever else like this, right? Should have responded with a business owner here, maybe. Most polite driver and even angry and don't follow rules. Right. It's like, you know, like, I'll give you another example of like the social stuff that pisses me off, right? And pisses my wife off. You ever been in a lane where like, you know, it's one of these deals where like let's take this up here, right? Let's say it's one of these deals where you're going to have to merge left. So this lane is going to end, right? And you're in a line of cars here and some asshole shoots up the side and wants to cut over. It's the same type of thing that pisses me off. I do my best to not let them get in because it's a dick fucking move. We're all waiting in line because that's the rules. It sucks to have to wait in line, but that's what you're doing here. The one guy who thinks I can fuck all of you guys, don't give a shit about your time, don't give a shit about where you have to go. I'm just going to say I'm ahead of everybody else. I'm better than everybody else. The rest of you can wait like schmucks as I get priority. That pisses me off. No mask? Of course no mask. Neither of us are driving with masks. I had a mask sitting next to me, but I didn't reach for it as I stepped out of the car. I should have. We had two cars in the... If it had been two dudes in the car, would I have jumped out? Yeah. I didn't see it was a woman until then. And I certainly didn't see it was two women. I jumped out because it fucking pissed me off. Yes, I absolutely would have. And I've had my jaw broken for being sucker punched. I've been punched in the face. I don't know how many fucking times. Because I don't let shit like this pass, Nobu. And it's worth it to me. Now, I'm not saying like I go off on every single thing. It's just like this was one of these things that really triggered me. Let's see. Same at work when people get rewarded for being aggressive when they're wrong. I'm not sure what that means. Did I ask for their business card and smile before walking away? No. There's all sorts of like really snarky shit I could have done that I immediately think of afterwards once the adrenaline clears the system and you can think straight again. I'm not sure if social harmony is ever being achieved in that scenario. Arguing with Twitter is like pissing in the wind. I'm not sure this is the same. I don't know. I feel like them being women is irrelevant. Obviously, the situation looks mega sketchy when they confront. I don't think them being women is irrelevant because there is a difference in what people are concerned about, right? Like it's more threatening for a man to do this. From what I did, it's more threatening me being a man than if I was a woman. Just in the same way that woman jumping out of the car and rushing over to me didn't make me feel physically threatened, although I felt like my space was being invaded in a time of pandemic. It just made me annoyed that she was up in my face when she was in the fucking wrong. It's more of this, her doubling down on this idea that although she was wrong, she has a moral authority to get bitchy here. No, you don't fucking do it. If I was in that same scenario, I would have felt ashamed. I would have apologized. If it come to that, if the person had jumped out of the car, you know, and I sure as fuck wouldn't have honked at them. I would have kind of done like a little like kind of like slink into myself and kind of like apologize wave. Because I would have felt like I was an asshole for almost hitting that person. And not paying attention to my job on the fucking road as a driver. Alright, let me catch up here. Honked out of a panic reaction? No, it was an angry return honk for sure. The timing was wrong. She didn't honk like get out of the way. It was after, like, anyways. Her and her friend are probably talking about super scary dude, not thinking about how they almost caused an accident. Good, as long as they fucking think about it. I don't want that to go away as them being like, oh, this dickhead almost got hit by us. I don't want them any way that gets forgotten for them being a responsibility here. See if I can go through this. Wouldn't be surprised if a passenger honked at you. Quite possibly. She was yes, I also got the impression that she was a real winner. Filthy was you think the person saying white people problem meant that if Filthy was a black man, he might have been in real trouble doing this? I really, really dislike the addition of race to this in any way. There's nothing racial about this interaction whatsoever. And like randomly like equating like there might be, yeah, sure. If I had been, what else? If I had been, I mean, there's all sorts of ways you could tweak this. You could change scenarios to make it worse or more impactful. You know, like, but again, I don't think it's relevant to this. Of course not, because they were white and we were white. Sure. But there's all sorts of things that could have made this worse, right? All right. The law where it says to merge at the merge point. People sitting in a line of traffic for miles are ones doing the wrong thing, and I'm not also doing the wrong thing just because they're morons. No way, dude. No way. The fact of the matter is people are pulling over or moving to the left lane because the right lane is going to change, especially if there's a line, right? You come up to traffic that's slowed down. There's a line of people waiting in this line. You've already seen the merge stuff. You think you have the right to pull in front of them because they're too stupid to wait till the very end to merge? They're making the merge more efficient by doing it now. So there's less waiting time. There's less interaction later, right? Less interaction with people pulling over, put their blinker on, needing to disrupt traffic to get in. Give me that bullshit. Yeah, exactly, Puke Ellington. It's exactly. You can exacerbate this. You can make this worse. And I'm worried I'm saying that. I'm gonna look that word up because I apparently was saying it wrong the other day. But exactly, there's all sorts of ways you can make it wrong. What if Filthy was drunk? What if Filthy was waving a weapon? What if Filthy was shirtless with like aggressive tattoos all over his body? What if I was listening to death metal? You know, like there's all sorts of things you can do to make this worse. What if the driver was an older woman, you know, like a small granny? What if she was a disabled small granny with you know, who was deathly ill? You know, blah blah blah. What if it was a handicapped vehicle? You can make it worse. You can, but I don't think it's relevant to the situation. Anyways, so chat. I guess I need another poll. I need an "Am I the asshole" poll on this one. Isn't this part of the discussion, though? How is it part of the discussion? If you want to spin out a hypothetical in which is different, I'm asking about the scenario that actually happened. Less Karen, more Urtuk? Maybe. Oh, I definitely escalated it, but does escalating it make it an asshole? And also, like, what? So, from your perspective, then, Nobu, all slights or all negative things or all transgressions of your rights you should ignore because if you escalate it, you're an asshole? Jesus, that's a very passive view of the world. What happens if everyone around you doesn't immediately respect your rights? How do you enforce that? How do you protect that? Like, that seems crazy to me. Well, I'll put the vote up. Let's put the vote up. Okay, so what do you guys have? You guys have 75% try new starts. Okay, we'll do that. Let's put another one. So. I guess I'm not even asking, am I the asshole? I guess I'm asking, what am I asking then? Because I don't actually care if I'm an asshole. I guess I'm asking, who's at fault? I guess is perhaps what I'm asking here. And I should even specify at fault for what, because I don't care if I'm at fault for escalating it. I'm happy to escalate it. I'm not trying to de-escalate the situation. My goal there is enforcing the understanding of personal responsibility and repercussions, right? You don't get to sit in it's like being on the fucking internet, right? Like she's in her car isolated from me. She's just gonna aggress randomly for this and then move on with her day like she wasn't fucking responsible for it. There's repercussions to that, and there should be repercussions to that. So I guess what I'm asking is, was my reaction justifiable? I guess is the closest I can ask for a question. All right. Kind of curious what you guys think. Any reaction is justifiable? That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking, can I get away with it? I'm not asking, should I have done it? I'm not asking, did it escalate or de-escalate? I'm not asking, I'm literally asking, should I have, maybe even a better question, should I have just let that honk pass? Should I have let this woman who almost hit me, was paying no attention to her own driving, almost hit me, had many opportunities. I had the think of the reaction time on this. I had the ability to honk, swerve out of the way before she even sees me. So she's just making a blind fucking turn into the roadway and almost T-bones me. That's a biased poll? Where? How is it biased? I literally put in there, all I did was escalate, or she was in the wrong. How is that a biased poll? She's living rent-free in my head but you're missing the point, Nobu. Again, like I don't avoiding conflict isn't something that I care to do. Like I don't need to avoid conflict. I'm okay with conflict. She's living rent-free? No. I am making decisions about future conduct, Nobu. I'm deciding if this was worth it to me or not. I mean, the immediate body response of this was a fucking adrenaline high and a rush. Like I'm not too concerned about that. I don't feel this was a negative experience from my perspective. I don't regret doing this. I'm kind of curious if I'm justified in doing it from an outside perspective. I'm literally looking for additional opinions to help inform my future decisions. She was in the wrong and you escalated it. But the poll is, it was an unnecessary escalation that accomplished nothing, essentially. I escalated it disproportionate to the action? Did I? What would have been a proportionate reaction, Nobu? How do you get to her? How do I get into her head for that moment to make her think about her actions for that second? How do I do that? What is the... So if you want to say that's an inappropriate response, which is your right to say, you can argue that. What's your argument for a justified response? Flip her off? No, because that just doubles down for her. If she thinks, you know, there's this fucking asshole honking at me, I didn't do anything wrong, and he flicked me off, all she gets from that is, this guy's a double asshole. No part of that makes her think, did I fuck up? Do I need to do something different? None of that. She almost fucking hit me. You know how much of a pain in the ass it would have been if she fucking hit me? Like how much damage and finances and time that would have wasted? And for what? Because she doesn't want to fucking pay attention as she's driving a car? If it was a kid on a bike instead of you, think about that. She's definitely in the wrong and reinforce that. If it was a kid on a bike, like pulling out in front of me, I probably would have honked and moved on. And he would have been in the wrong. But anyways, but I'm not sure that's relevant. It's a different situation. Right? The friend is going to validate the driver. Your confrontation might end up being not, but you still take low percentage plays, right? What is my chance of reaching this woman? Pretty minuscule. I grant you that. What did it cost me to get out for this? Nearly nothing. Is there a chance I reached her? Probably. Is the chance particularly high? Probably not. And yeah, it makes it worse because her friend's there. But I want her to fucking think next time. I want her to think about that honk. You know, she'll fuck up driving again. Like bad drivers are kind of like bad drivers, period, right? But I want her to fucking think about it before she hits that horn again next time. Getting out of your car is a sort of line. Why? Can't spend my life getting into personal interactions with strangers? I stream for a fucking living, getting into personal interactions with strangers nonstop. Why can't I do that in real life too? Maybe be calm about it. I don't know. It's kind of an adrenaline-inducing situation, right? Like, I don't know that anyone can... Well, I mean, maybe you do it all the time. Maybe with practice, I'll be calmer about it. Did I make her think, though? Don't know. Yee on her for dominance. It's not a dominance thing. What are you doing to protect... It's not even rights. Like, what are you doing to help enforce the fucking rules, right? And perhaps not my job. I'm not going to get out and fucking hit her, you know? But, like, letting it pass seems lazy. It seems like not doing what I should be doing here. They're scared the shit out of her? I hope I scared the shit out of her. I hope she thinks twice about it, like, quite honestly. I didn't accomplish any change, but I have a chance of accomplishing change? Because, again, what are my percentages? There's just a percentage play there, right? No part of what you described about the fight, so what? You'll think about it too, Nobu. The fact that it happened is going to make this a bigger impact on her memory and her recollection of the event than if I hadn't done that. And if she thinks about it, she's more likely to realize she did fucking wrong. Even if it's kind of in some part of her she doesn't acknowledge, she's going to do something a little different next time. I definitely wondered if my car was going to get keyed, by the way, after this. It's definitely worse with the passenger than the driver. But the passenger hid in the car and never did anything. And the driver, rather. Stand up to adults who behave badly and lack accountability. That's my take, GW Pace. Like, I feel that way too. Like, you have to stand up for this shit or nothing happens, right? Nothing changes. Oh, you mean what if a kid in my place had almost got hit by this car? Yeah, exactly, right? But again, like, I don't think changing that just changes the situation to make it more favorable for the person in my position by making it a more vulnerable or less powerful situation, right? A kid compared to an adult, not the protection of a car getting hit, but instead being hit vulnerably on a bike. It just changes the situation. It's like the same problem of being like, well, what if Filthy was black, you know, or what if they were black? You know, it just doesn't help anything. It doesn't help think about this situation as an intellectual exercise from my perspective. 30 minutes of stream time was the cost. You think this is a cost? You think this is a loss to discuss this? This is intellectually interesting to me. Doing nothing would have been a waste of perfectly good adrenaline. Maybe that's true too, One Heart, One Mind. Maybe there is that element of like, that was interesting to me. If this is one of the things that disturbs you and makes you think she steps on you in any way, I think you can react pretty heavily. I've been in a car crash and it's not fun, so I want to be in one again. Yeah, I've been in a car crash too. I was in a car with my girlfriend. We were driving, it was a 4-lane highway and there's an exit to the left. And an old woman was in the far right lane. And basically, we're almost horizontally in line with the curve, with the exit. And just swerves across 4 lanes of traffic, including us, to pull into that exit lane. And we end up clipping, my girlfriend's driving, ends up clipping the back of her car. And that woman, so in that accident, we hit her, both cars kind of spun out of control a little bit. You know, I take that second when a car stops, see if my girlfriend at the time wasn't my wife, it was a previous girlfriend. And, you know, to see if she's okay. And then I get out of the car to see if that woman's okay. And that woman refused to make eye contact with me. And I was literally going to check if she was okay. She just didn't look at me, didn't respond to me, didn't make eye contact with me. And I had the paramedics later told me that that reduced level of consciousness was what they just assumed that she functions at, because they couldn't find any injuries with her and she just was like really out of it. She was probably too old to be driving, quite honestly. But anyways, you know, like that kind of interaction is just like, you can have people who are just like crazy on the fucking road. And yes, car crashes suck for sure. Maybe she feels sorry after the situation, like just like you're getting out of my mind. Maybe, Mr. Bacon Shrimps. Everyone gives up on trying to reach people, make them understand their actions are wrong, and we're all fucked. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. You have to choose your battles for sure. And maybe this was an unreasonable choice. I don't know. For talk today? Yeah, probably. About to hit just chatting levels of gameplay? Nah, man, we often do hours without gameplay. We do spreadsheets, we talk. And this is literally why I stream, so I can do what I want to do on stream. And I want to talk about this morning. I wanted to get other opinions on this. You were scared and react is one thing. The better option is jump out of the car and be happy to show you're happy she misses nearly hit you. I don't think that's reasonable for anyone. No one's happy that they almost got in a car accident and the other person's being shitty about it. Yeah, dude, 32114. I also wish I had been a little bit more clever with my responses there, because just the adrenaline kind of blocking your processing. But honestly, you know how you get better at that? You do it more often. I'm not joking, right? This is like any altered state. Once you're aware of the impact it has on your cognition, you can do things to counteract that, and then you train for it, right? That's how you deal with fucking changes in body state. Low chance of success, but next time you might find someone who's armed. Yep, can get shot doing that. There's certainly a personal danger to that. That woman had a negative experience because of her driving. It doesn't really matter. She makes a connection consciously. It's still there, right? But what does she think about not honking when making a mistake, or about another honking as the guy jumping a car might be armed? We don't know, but I can't control that, Valeria. I can be better about my messaging, for sure. But not challenging it leaves that as a reasonable response in her mind. And the fact she did it means it was a reasonable response in her mind. She thinks it's okay to nearly have caused an accident and to be angry at the victim of the person she nearly caused an accident with. That's not okay. You fucked up. You don't get to be angry at the person you almost fucked up on. Being aggressively rushed when you're already irritated makes it more difficult to remain calm. Yeah, but I don't really buy into the idea that all things need to be addressed calmly. I think emotions are okay. I think it's one of these traffic things that happens a lot. The fact that something wrong happens a lot doesn't make it right, first of all. Your friend was an asshole and she shouldn't have honked, sure. What did you expect when I got out of my car? They didn't honk at me after I got out of my car. They honked at me before I got out of my car. I responded by getting out of my car when they honked. She already demonstrated she didn't think she was in the wrong by honking back. Sure. That's why I got out of my car, Nobu, is because I wanted to challenge the idea that she thought she was in the right. And that required more than just driving to work and continue on. As I said, if she'd almost hit me and then, like, you know, maybe she waved an apology or like didn't look at me as people sometimes do when they're embarrassed or they make a mistake, I'd have just gone about my day and let it at that. Been like, fuck, I almost got hit this morning, and gone to work. They think they own the world at that point. Exactly, Calric, and I push back very heavily against that when people are doing that around me. Buy a camera? That may be an idea. I hate the fact that everything I do needs to be recorded these days to prevent like lawsuits and prove that I'm not acting poorly, but sure. On some level, that's absolutely true. You see a lot of this shit like on Reddit, right? With like the dash cams of other people being fucktards in fucking vehicles. She could hurt me physically with her car. You can only hurt her ego. Sure, but I'm willing to take that risk in that scenario in particular, right? Like I understand that I exposed myself more by getting out of the car. I understand that. Could have gone. I like this next comment from Puke Ellington. It looks like you knew her. Looks like you knew you were a dick, but are a dick from purpose for emphasis is a teachable moment for her. Could it have gone badly? Sure. Is it our job to teach people around us? That seems like a lot of opinion around moral responsibility. I think you're fair to do so. And I guess I'm asking some of that. You know, I'm asking what you guys think about moral responsibility for the people around you. Do you let shitty behavior? Do you let illegal behavior? Do you let harmful behavior? Do you let, like, what do you let? Isn't part of what we're talking about right now as a society is being accountable in some level? Isn't this some degree of accountability? Paradox of tolerance states that a society is tolerant without limit. Its ability to be tolerant eventually seized or destroyed by the intolerant. Yeah, it seems a little bit along their lines of, you know,
Filthy hype,
if you, I don't know, like there's some degree of like, what do you allow to happen? It's the cheating stuff, right? When you look at like game theory stuff, right? If cheating is never punished, then cheating becomes the best outcome, or rather the best strategy for you. Because if you don't have to do any of the work to reap the same rewards to the people who do have to do the work or put the resources in or whatever cost there is associated with it, you just get to take, then, and there's no punishment for that, then that is the better strategy. So if people do not punish cheaters, you encourage the behavior of cheating. That's how that works. That's a perfectly rational response. So from my perspective, I should do my part to discourage that cheating, to punish that cheating, to make that a not free action, from my perspective. Escalation leads to more escalation. That's true. You're going to avoid doing that in your life, and that's your choice for that. Again, the escalation wasn't an issue to me. Like, I'm okay escalating it. I want the point to come across. Respect my opinions and thoughts. Oh, sorry, I just skipped the comment. I'm still on JB from TO. Thank you for the resub, Patatul. Escalation leads to more escalation. I'm personally trying to not do that in my life. You're in the right, but what happens if a woman's husband shows up at your work in a parking lot with a weapon? I'm not going to lead a life where I am terrified of the repercussions of standing up for things I believe in. I'm not going to fucking do it. I don't care. If I get shot tomorrow about this, it's a stupid fucking reason to get shot, but I'd do the same thing again. I'm not asking, would you have done what I did in my spot? I'm asking essentially more along the lines of, did I do something wrong here? And if so, what? I feel like equating streaming this a little off. We know who you are and hopefully respect your opinions and thoughts. We wouldn't be here. People who don't would just write you off as some asshole. Might even reinforce their mental armor. But that's a backwards fucking societal decision, Makani. To the way to engage with stuff that confronts your opinion is not ignorance. It's not to ignore it. It's not to just brush it off. It's to evaluate it and then decide. This is supposed to be, this is the idea of the last idea standing, right? The idea that you should be going with is the one that survives criticism from other ideas because it's a better idea. Rationally, what you want to work with, at least from my perspective, with the idea of being the most accurate, is you want to know what works and doesn't work. And when ideas are worse, and there's definitely ideas that are worse than other ideas, you want to know why. I don't want to just go about in my beliefs unchallenged and accept them, period, with no ability to listen to another belief that opposes that. I want to be able to listen to another belief and go, no, that's worse because. You try to find the business shithead lady owns and give her a terrible Yelp review. That would show her. I have no desire to be vindictive. I have no desire to punish, and I'm not trying to get back at Jang. I'm not trying to get back at them for almost hitting me. I want them not to be nearly hitting me again. And I, more importantly, even than that one, is I want them to understand that they don't get to aggress when they're in the wrong. So it's not about that, and I certainly would never. I don't care. I don't care what her business is. I don't even know why she brought it up. She brought it up as a power play to essentially try to be like, you need to shut up, or me as a powerful business owner will do blah, blah, blah. And I don't give a shit. I'm not going to be threatened that way. For all we know, the driver's embarrassed. Good. Would she have been embarrassed if I didn't do something? Less likely. We're min-maxing a near accident? What? I don't know what to tell you. Like, min-maxing is just a... Min-maxing is an outcome of thinking about things rationally, Tragic Booty, right? That's what that is. It's, here's the system, here's my understanding of the system we're playing in. What's the best way to make that system work for us? That's min-maxing in a nutshell. And why the hell would I not? Why do you think that idea from me comes in games at all? Is because I think about life in that way. And why wouldn't you? Understand the system, work in the rules of that system the best you can to best take advantage of that. That's what you're trying to do. Maximize your outcomes from the situations in life you're in. Game looks really interesting. You want to see it? Sure. We played a lot of Urtuk on stream. There's definitely stuff for there. We'll get to gaming today. We'll get plenty of time. But I want to talk about this first because it's interesting to me, and I want to see what chat has. And I don't mind arguing or disagreement with chat. And I want to see these opinions, and I want to see if I can respond to these opinions, and I want to see what the outcome is at. Your discussion here with me could change my mind about this. I could be wrong. I'm asking this question because I'm not 100% sure. I feel like I know why I did what I did, and I would, at this moment, do what I did again. And I could be talked out of that, potentially, if your ideas are good enough. Maybe. All right, I'm still catching up with chat, so I apologize as I get through this. Nobody says, for me, I would have let it go after she honks. I wouldn't think anything could be accomplished by fighting with an asshole about something that risks, and the risks outweigh the benefits, but minor traffic violations don't hit my justice meters, are clear. I have a different line for that. Sure. I think if you live somewhere else, this kind of situation would start becoming normal to you, and overreacting would seem pointless. I don't live somewhere else. I live here. And they don't happen to me so much that they have become meaningless. And I don't know that I overreacted. I may have reacted just where I wanted to react. Bought a dash cam for those reasons, sure. I wouldn't have done it anyway since I would only realize what happened 5 minutes later. I had a lady on drugs sideswipe me and leave her mirror in my car on the highway. Thank God I was driving and in frigid psycho. My girlfriend was hysterical and she hit my side. Yeah. On accident implies no fault, it's a collision. I hate exits to left. I'm from Canada. Yeah, so you guys are responding to that story for sure. Left exit's super dangerous. Used to honk aggressive when people do stupid shit in cars all the time. When I drove for exactly the reason. I'm hoping people would remember the next time. I think twice about doing stage, but I never get out of my car. I don't want to die. I'm not saying I'm willing to die for that necessarily, but I'm willing to escalate for that. My point was more that she made a reckless choice to put others in danger. She's refusing to acknowledge her responsibility. I firmly believe that one's rights end the second they bring harm to others through intention or negligence. If she means she gets yelled at, she needs to own her own mistakes. I mean, that's my take on it too. Narada is that she was in the wrong. She was acting like she wasn't, and I wanted to reinforce that she was in the wrong, and there's repercussions to just fucking violating that. But those are rules that need to be enforced to some degree. Hey, KB Clarity, you can catch the VOD. I think I explained it pretty aggressively. I think I explained it pretty thoroughly at the beginning. I think my stated goal would have been better accomplished by calm interaction. Yeah, it's really hard to be calm there. And as I said, like, maybe this is something that, again, how do you deal with the situations that fuck with your cognitive processing? You train for them and you do it regularly. So maybe I need to do this more often, you're saying? Maybe. Beyond upholding the social contract, aren't you also making the effort to show her her actions escalated the situation? If she responds in a similar way in a future scenario, the outcome could have been worse. I think that gives me a little bit too much credit. I want her to be forced to stop and evaluate her own actions. I'm definitely escalating. I don't know that escalating in of itself is a bad thing. I don't know why Nightbot timed out Tree's rule. Why did Nightbot time you out? You wrote, I don't think getting shot is super likely. I don't either. Although, anytime that you're doing something like that, you run a non-zero, right? Nobody says, I'm a woman putting myself in situations like that in dangerous. Sure, I'm not a woman though. I'm still gonna get shot, you know, at some point doing that for sure. Depending, right? We're back at this time of year where your content gets you through the cold shifts, the darkening rain. I'm glad, Hendo. I'm glad. Hopefully this content's entertaining and engaging for you. I know it's not gaming content quite yet, but we're getting there. Maybe you should just carry a gun with her now. Maybe. Yep. My country, appropriate levels for road rage are honking, 2 yelling from the... All right. Are 1 honking, 2 yelling from the car, 3 stepping out, and 4 getting in a fist fight, but we don't have guns. Yeah, Bill. Yep. There's certainly other outcomes there. But I told you, I've been fucking hit before for expressing my fucking opinion, and I'm not going to stop because of that. The threat of an outcome is, at the best, a short term, right? All right, I need to shut up right now because I'm going to get shot. Okay, I'll shut up right now. I need to shut up right now. I'm going to hit. Maybe I'll just get hit, you know? Some things are fucking worth it. Everyone confronted antisocial behaviors would be a lot less assholes. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm asking. Like, my thought is no one else is going to enforce that. At no other way is there going to be any chance of her being like, I fucked up. I shouldn't be honking my horn here. And now there's a chance she will. Is that worth it? Is it worth the risk to myself for doing that? I get to make that decision, right? I'm asking, am I in the wrong for doing that? And I don't see it yet, but maybe I am. Armed, I'd never think about it. I'm not American. It's very easy to get concealed carry here, but I don't want that. I've said this many times. This is one of my pushbacks to the guy I got the gun training from, which is that I don't know that I want a weapon as an escalation. I don't know if I want that. But I don't know. I'm not going to get out and wave a gun at them. I'm not trying to threaten them. The point of getting out is not to threaten them. The point of getting out is they don't get to... I don't want to give them a pass on aggressing in a position where they're in the wrong. That's the point of getting out. It's not because I want to be punitive. It's not because I want vengeance. I'm not getting back at her for honking by getting out of the car. I want it to be a moment that sticks in her head for a second, so she has to fucking think about it. Maybe won't do it next time. Projection, sign of a weak mind. You'd have to explain that more. I'm pretty sure I disagree, but maybe you have a point. You could go try to look for the car again and sit outside with the camera. Again, I'm not trying to catch her in something. I just don't want to see that happen again. You'd be in the scenario again, would you have wanted to react differently? Talking about the adrenaline comment later or earlier. Yeah, I would like to be a little bit more clear on my messaging. We're a little bit less reactive to the passenger jumping out and starting yelling, right? I would have liked to have been less trapped in that like back and forth with her and more just kind of stuck to the point I was trying to make, which is when you're in the wrong, you don't get to aggress. Own your fucking mistakes and just carry on. Emotion is sometimes the most logical reaction. I think emotion is logical here, I think is misleading, Nobu. I think emotion is certainly a reaction that's going to occur here, but it's certainly not the logical reaction. Calm helps people will better respond to calm, for sure. Why does Nightbot keep immediately timing you out, Trees Rule? Are you on a ban list somewhere? Like, why is fucking... Alright. Mods, can we get Trees Rule 14, TREESRULE 14 unbanned, or whatever the hell why Nightbot keeps suppressing his messaging? I think it might be a Nightbot setting ban. I've never seen a Night... I don't know why the fuck why he keeps getting suppressed by Nightbot, but I want it done. I want it changed. Why are you not surprised? Hey, Settler, you're a troll. Welcome to America. I ordered some level 3 bulletproof vests. I don't want to wear a bulletproof vest. I think it's reasonable to be yelled about it. I think it's reasonable to be yelling about it if it doesn't have negative consequences. Negative's too vague here. There's definitely negative consequences. Problem is if it escalated by the other party. Again, I'm not willing to stop what I think is the right action from a perspective just because the other party has a chance to be aggressive about it or to like punish me, I guess. Like, you know, they're wrong. You're not going to get shot after snarkily telling someone off for cutting me off. I'm not willing to live a life that is entirely driven by fear of the repercussions of what people could do to me. I'm not willing to lead that life. Feel like you're justified? Why are you asking chat? Jesus, Nobu. We're on a very high disagreement here, because oftentimes this is part of how I make decisions and part about how I decide about future things, is I canvass other people for their opinions and thoughts about this to look for strong either disagreement. It's not even strong disagreement or agreement. It's just strong thoughts about it. I'm looking for strong arguments one way or the other. I'm asking you guys or talking to you guys about this or bringing it up because A, it's interesting to me and I want to talk about it. And B, because I'm looking to see, are there other ways of thinking about this that I'm blind to initially that are solid, strong ways of thinking about this? That's why I'm talking about it. She was calm and it's good to be calm, but if she honks back, it's clearly mad, it's going to be good to respond with emotion. Not about it honking. I don't know. Maybe. So fucked up the people you ask just have to accept that they might get shot any day. Don't disagree. Can you repeat what the scenario was? Yeah, sorry. And there was also Caesar asked about it too, with using some why so mad stuff. You can see the graph on the drawing on screen. I almost got T-boned by a woman, and when I honked to get her attention, to get her to stop from T-boning me and swerved out of the way, she responded by honking back at me like it was somehow my fucking fault that she almost hit me when she was totally in the wrong on the rules of the road. So I stopped the car and got out of the car. And we had an escalated, heated discussion, or rather myself and the passenger of her vehicle did anyways. By someone who trails you every second of your life. Okay, so that's a comment that doesn't make any sense. Hey, Deathpool. Thanks for the 9 months, man. I think I got Patatol sub too. But anyways, if I didn't, thank you, Patatol. Let's see. We're more than capable and free to protect ourselves. I don't know about that. I think guns are one of these things that I have a very mixed set of emotions about. There's no proof that, for example, an armed society is a polite society. There's no fucking proof of that, right? We don't see that actually to be true. And certainly you can have bad actors shooting you. So, and if bad actors, the limitation of bad actors being more limited is probably a good thing. What does it cost? I don't know if it's worth the trade-off. Not something I've given a whole lot of thought to, and it's certainly something I've been thinking about since I took those shooting lessons. Or they're more like a gun safety lesson anyways. For the debate, people who uniformly agree with you are useless. Certainly, it's again, it's the idea of a last idea, the last idea standing. If your ideas and your beliefs can't survive criticism, they're not very good ideas or beliefs. The goal is to be able to accurately understand the criticism being directed towards you, understand it, to hear it, and to be able to dismiss it. Or to be able to, it's not even dismiss, it's to be able to respond to it and come out with something that is better than it. So I'm not phrasing this very well. You can offer criticism of an idea or a thing, and the criticism might not be good criticism. It can be addressed or dealt with in a way that says, no, this is still right. Your criticism is invalid because of X, Y, Z, or the objection you raise is an objection that's addressable. And part of how you get better with life, with better about your philosophy, the better with how you get better at doing things is surviving criticism and getting better, or getting criticized and changing because you've been like, you're right. That's the wrong type of way to look at this, or the wrong way to address this, right? Dashcam, yep. You're fine. Germany people get yelled at for jaywalking because they might encourage that behavior in children. To tell someone they did something wrong is fine. Maybe next time don't yell. Yelling doesn't help. Possibly. As I said, that was probably the part that I would like to change the most out of that, is how the emotion of the situation, the adrenaline of the situation hijacked my cognitive functioning. For sure. Russia dashcam is basically a requirement. Makes sense. I was thinking that maybe you were all judging each other your worst. She might have low-rolled attentiveness and self-awareness. You low-rolled self-control. Her friend critical fail, and suddenly it's a mess. Sure. I don't, you brought up a couple times now, Makani, that for you, escalation is not where you want to be. And I agree that I definitely escalated from that situation. But I don't necessarily think the escalation alone is a problem.
A generous bestowal.
Thanks for the donation, Kelrick. All right. Wow, I'm pretty behind on chat. Sorry, guys. Let me try to get through this. Pretty sure that people are less likely to change their opinion when they feel forced. Changes are very much smaller when guns are extremely rare. Chances are very much smaller when guns are extremely rare. Yes. I think it depends. I'm not going to point myself to judge everyone. I think you have to pick battles. This was a minor traffic altercation, in my opinion. I chose to make it a battle. For sure. Like Professor here, people understand these moments very differently. So if the goal is to teach her a lesson, you're gambling on the most effective way to teach her. Maybe you crying is most memorial for her. Maybe aggravating, really hard to know other people. But sure, but Torvon, isn't the comparison here the wrong comparison though? You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't know what reaches her. And certainly the more heated emotionally she is, the less likely she's going to be cognitively functioning highly, right? So less likely that I get some sort of direct, like you think of like the routes of persuasion, right? That I'm probably blocking direct route of persuasion through the heat of the moment kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure I run a 0 chance of changing anything if I just drive on by, right? If I don't address her behavior whatsoever, I'm pretty sure I run a 0% chance of changing something. So here I have a low percentage, but a low percentage beats a 0%, right? Actions have consequences. Yep. Also, in the end, you got a 5-minute verbal fight with someone, so it's pretty mild all around. Correct. And I don't mind confrontation. Confrontation doesn't put me off. Nobody got hurt, correct? Instead of a camera, if you can afford it, could be worth investing in a Tesla. Built-in can't afford a Tesla, mate. Sorry. My stream's not big enough for a Tesla, sorry. I would love the autopilot. I'm looking forward to self-driving cars, for sure. Tragedy of the Commons also covers that. I think Tragedy of the Commons is something that aggravates both my wife and I a lot, which is the abuse of communal resources. Because it inherently says, if someone is abusing communal resources, that inherently says that they put themselves ahead of you. And I fucking hate it when people do that. Sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. I don't think it's a matter of fighting fire with fire. My point was not punitive. Wish I could react in shit situations. I just let a lot of bullshit go because I'm frozen when the right moment comes. Yeah, I agree. And I think training again helps with that, Montant, right? Which is that I also do not wish to be passive. And there's certainly situations that have happened around me or to me where in retrospect, I wish I could do that differently. And part of what I want to do in life is to address that, to think about that and to act. I mean, part of why I got out of the fucking car was to act, you know, to not let this passively happen to me. Completely just saying that how you respond matters and people feel backed into a corner, they may double down. That's true. Why is everyone so concerned with getting shot? Because it's a mods. I really, really want Trees Rule unbanned from Nightbot. I don't know why every comment they post is getting banned. Please sort that out. Oh, because that was all caps. Maybe that was why. Nightbot, I mean, I guess that's reasonable. Hundreds of millions of Americans, though, probably half of them are bad drivers. Half of them are bad drivers? You're going to drive after every guy who cuts you off. You shake your head, honk, and hope the cops see them at some point? Because this one was something I can address, Makani, again. Like today on the right, okay, it's pouring rain here today. We're coming up to a spot where there's this merge situation is basically here, right? So I'm coming up to a part where there's a entry ramp here, and we're supposed to merge left to let that entryway happen. Or maybe, I think it's a lane. I think it merges down to 1, then opens back up to 2 where there's another one. It's some stupid situation like that, right? And this truck, so it's pouring rain here, and this truck going super fast comes up alongside me, jumps in front of me, cuts me off, no lights, etc. On the way here to this merge thing, rushes up beyond me, and I just ignored it, right? Because I have no ability to impact that situation in a way that's reasonable, right? But here I did. Here this woman, and again, you know, yes, that behavior kind of sucks. It's not particularly good driving. It's a little bit dangerous. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not trying to say I have to fucking engage with all of these. But the parking lot example from there, I can engage with that. She almost fucking hit me. She's in the wrong. She's not obeying traffic laws. She thinks she's in the right or thinks that she has the right to aggress because she's almost fucked my car up. And I can address that one. Why not? What's the quote? Evil wins when good people don't act. I don't. Yeah, although that's a bit hoity-toity for I think this situation. Okay? But I do understand some of that sentiment, which is if you let shit happen to you, shit happens to you. Okay? If you avoid conflict at all people just walk over you. Yeah, that's close to what I think too. If you avoid conflict at all costs, people will just walk all over you. Right? My attitude. Thanks, Kalric. Problem by escalating it may teach her even less because she only thinks the aggressive guy attacking her. That's true, but I don't think there's any way to reach her if I don't do something. And by getting out of my car, I escalate. And again, I wish I was able to be a little bit more cognitively clear in that moment. So that my message, again, could have been a little bit more on target. And I freely admit that I wish I had done that part better, and will attempt to do that part better if I do this again. There we go. Trees Rule gets to say something. Why is everyone so concerned about getting shots? An incredibly rare event, especially among randoms. A lot of guns in America, and a lot of guns in Iowa. Filthy didn't approach right, dismounted his vehicle and shouted at them. Correct. It's clearly something you feel strongly about, so why you're asking chat what we think. I've already answered that. I feel like your answer is already decided. Addressing, again, Nobu, I'll say this one last time before I stop responding to that comment, which is, by bringing this up, I open myself to criticism, or I open myself up to the idea that other people's ideas can be presented to me, right? Other people will have thoughts about this. Other people have done this differently. Other people will say, yeah, but you did this wrong, or this is a way you could have done it better, or I don't think that's right because. And by thinking about that, I get to make a better informed decision for what I want to do next time. So by having my ideas challenged, I get to purify those ideas or change them. So why am I bringing it up? Because I want the conversation. And I get to do this. I get to crowdsource this right now. It's one of the joys of having a community is I get to bring this up and have a discussion. And otherwise, what? I'm going to talk to my wife about it? I'm going to get like 2 people as opposed to 400 people talking to about this? It's more interesting to me. It's a better platform to hear these ideas. And I mean, Twitch is not a particularly great idea to have, great platform to have complicated ideas discussed on, but still, better than nothing. You don't feel like you're an asshole and are comfortable with that? You did. No, I do feel like I was an asshole. I definitely escalated it. Again, so I'm not asking, that's why I corrected the poll to be not, am I an asshole? Clearly I'm an asshole for that. I'm kind of asking more along the lines of, should I have done it? Could I have done it better or differently? And was I justified in doing it is probably a better set of questions than was I an asshole. I brought that up because there's a Reddit that's called Am I the Asshole Here, which essentially brings up ideas like this and asks the same kind of thing, which was kind of my comparison point. I admire your principle, but saying you got shot and you do nothing different, give another chance makes me question your rationality. I didn't get shot, and I didn't say I would do nothing different if I was going to get shot. What I actually said is I've been punched before, and I wouldn't have changed those situations, although some of them I would have, but in general, it's a matter of risk versus reward. What is an acceptable cost to present an idea that you care about? What is an acceptable cost to protect a morality or an idea that you believe in? And small amounts of physical risk may be okay. If a guy pulls a gun on me and tells me to get back in my car at that point, I'm probably getting back in my car at that point. And I do that not because I believe that that makes it right, but because the chance then of my getting shot is now too high. Even though I still think they're in the fucking wrong. And even then, I don't know. Like, you know, it depends on that. This is part of why I did the gun training, because I want to understand. I wanted to understand how easy, how threatening, how fast these things occurred, and I didn't know that prior to that. And it's scary fucking easy to shoot someone at close range, by the way. Scary fucking easy. Like if I learned anything from that gun safety course, it was that you can't. Pulling the trigger on a pistol or a rifle at close range is, you know, so if someone pulls a gun on you, you're in extreme, real danger that even an idiot can bring home. So I wanted to understand. I guess questions here whether escalation is part of a justifiable decision or not. And from what you said it was, appeasement is proven to fail pretty much every time. Appeasement is definitely not a strategy I believe in. Still want to steal her bike train? Yeah. The right to be angry and the woman deserve to be yelled at. Being an adult does not give you immunity to punishment for bad behavior. It's human interaction at the core. People get understanding what's okay and not okay from reactions of other people. Yeah, I agree. Not sure, but, although your name makes me worry that you're trolling me. Your name is Egoism. I'm not sure about this in the States, but Filthy would end up at fault for having vacated his vehicle. The law is in place to minimize discouraged interaction. Is that right? That can be discussed legally. Filthy would be in hot water for this. I don't know what law you're referencing, and I've never heard of a law like that. And I'm curious now what you're talking about, Poil. A lot of research showing that negative reinforcement isn't very effective, though. I guess I know there is when it comes to kids. I think I offer again the same argument, which is no pushback to her behavior leaves no room for her to change that behavior, or very, very, very little. Thanks, Billy. For the 73 months, welcome back. Karen's and Kevin's need to be shut down at every opportunity. Yep. You ever lived in a downtown urban environment, you know how it can be. Did the driver or the passenger bring up the business stuff? I never interacted with the driver past me honking at her, then her honking at me. The passenger got out of the car and yelled at me, and the passenger brought up being the owner of the business. Feels a bit as if you're trying to argue your point in chat to maybe convince yourself, because this seems to be absolutely decided on your part. I'm not trying to convince myself. I'm trying to open myself up to criticism and other ideas, and then decide whether or not I think those ideas or criticisms actually changes how I think about this. Maxing is a way of life, damn straight. Very common for people to react aggressively in traffic incidents they're responsible for. Sure. It doesn't mean it's all right. I like to confront people too, and I carry a gun. Settler, stop trolling, man. Like, you have to be funny to troll, and these are not funny comments. Who says min-maxing an accident is even bad? You did something socially right, although I doubt I would ever make a difference. The thoughts behind the person. The thoughts behind the action are right for a community. Basic concept of peer pressure, maybe. You live in Manhattan, it was never a problem at all. But also, if he doesn't show his point of view, then how can she analyze the situation, not think she was 100% right and do the same thing again? That's the question I'm left with. If I do nothing, doesn't she just walk over me and then think she's in the right to do it and do it again? She'd cut you off if she had cut you off on the way into the parking lot and you had gone over to her peacefully and said, your piece, I'm fully on board, I think you reacted with physical aggression in the technical sense in an arena where it wasn't meant to be used. I mean, it's an interesting conversation. I have this with my wife sometimes, right? I'm a 6'2" guy. I'm not a particularly big guy in terms of like, you know, I'm not big into lifting. I'm not particularly broad. My brother's a 6'5" big guy who is into lifting and physical stuff. And I do have discussions with my wife sometimes about what that means. Yep, I'm more threatening than a 5'4" woman, for sure. I'm less threatening than a 6'7" guy or 6'5" guy who does lifting. I'm not picking up a gun or pulling out a gun, but part of being me is what is this? Part of what this means is when I choose to react to something, my physical presence is a part of that. And I don't know what to say about that past the fact that, yes, that's the case. I don't know that means what? The bigger you are, the more passive you should be? The bigger you are just because of that? I'm not sure what I do with that information past, yes, it is true. The minute I get out of my car, I have escalated the situation. I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. But I also don't necessarily think that in of itself is wrong. I think sometimes you have to escalate things. Your option is literally like, let it happen or do something about it. The second you choose do something, you're escalating. Thank you, Weighty Pants Bulge. Welcome back. Glad to see I'm safe, thanks. I think you acted with physical aggression in technical term in an arena that wasn't meant to be used. I think picking your tool for the job is important. You just grab the hammer. I don't mean to offend. You're not offending me by challenging my ideas. It doesn't inherently offend me by challenging my ideas. All right, I think I'm catching up here. We're getting close to where I'm feeling talked out, but I'll keep. I want to finish up the chat in case chat has said anything interesting here. If I came to stream a few minutes too late, you should carry a gun. Settler, stop. I know this is in the past, but I'm giving you warnings right now, Settler. My guess is she's not going to take away what he wants her to take away. You're probably right, but again, look at the percentages, Nobu. This is like the 5th time I've said this. Are my odds better or worse of her getting something from this or thinking differently about how she reacted by me pushing back? Better or worse than if I had just kept in my car and driven away? Better or worse? Learn the mistake for driving in the first place. People like that should know again. I think it's important to define your intent and examine actions and outcomes. Guys, troll, don't feed them. Yep. Not being from USA makes the discussion useless and be totally different social mindsets. Maybe, but it's interesting to hear other social mindsets to some degree. We don't know her circumstances. Maybe she was rushing to emergency. Highly unlikely, though, she was wrong. Yeah, again, we can take the situation as we know it, and we can move things around if we want. And all we do by doing that is change the perceptions of that. Well, what if she was, pregnant, rushing to the hospital? What if she'd just been shot? I mean, you can do this shit. It just doesn't it doesn't add utility to the situation as it existed. We could ask your business if they have CCTV facing the street. Having the proof of her driving recklessly would be nice to have. This is the same location where I got my bike stolen, Jang. There's no fucking CCTV footage of that. The filthy... Is that a filthy Destiny arc? I like Destiny's content. Don't go apeshit on anyone. I just warn to stand my ground. If I'm in the right, I have a gun just in case they try to go aggressive. Dangerous to do that. I find it more interesting that you got punched in the face several times in life. I think that makes it seem like you over-escalate too much. If I get punched in the face, did I over-escalate? Or did they over-escalate? What it shows me is the reason why I've been hit in my life many times is sometimes I refuse to back down when I'm right. And sometimes that includes when I'm being physically threatened. And sometimes people not only physically threaten, but they carry through with it. And that doesn't make them more right. And it's on me to understand that situation as best I can. And it's on me to make that decision of whether I want that or not. Not that I want to be punched, but that I want to take a stand even at the risk of being physically harmed for it. True, it may not work out, but I guess this question is worth it to make you think about it. People say the women drivers are like stars. You see, I don't know what that comment is. Clearly thinks it is. He tried to get CCTV building manager not been helpful at all, correct? What about your local social norms? In my place, no direct confrontation is acceptable. Most things are passive-aggressive stuff. Yeah, I mean, certainly people avoid conflict. People are conflict averse, but I'm not conflict averse. People are super sexist, mix that part. Statistically, women make less accidents. Watching the VOD now, expect it to be harder, daddy. Yeah, we can, I mean, that's what OnlyFans are for. We can work out the price on that later, no ceilings. Even though I'm too passive, I don't really get into fights. I don't try to get into fights either. Full escalation to guns or other violence train of thought is a slippery slope fallacy. Yeah. Although I think that's a really... Guns or weapons in general, or also the mentality of willing to do harm over something like this, or permanent harm over something like this, it certainly adds something to this, right? That isn't there. If you know the worst outcome that happens is you guys yell at each other, that's a very different scenario than if you know the outcome is you might get shot. So they do add something. I don't think it's slippery slope to say that there is a difference in the situation or the type of situation when that occurs. Thank you, Zeldist. They didn't end up, Calric, that's not quite right. He didn't end up refusing to give me CCTV footage. He just had endless excuses for why none of the 4 cameras that should have saw it saw anything, Calric. All right, Nobu. It's not a traffic violation issue, it's through entitled response. Exactly. Why that's what Filthy reacted to primarily, 100%. 100% that. If that's not clear, it wasn't the traffic violation that is the issue. It was the entitled response. That exactly sums up my position. As I said, if she had almost hit me, I honked, you know, I swerve out of the way. She like kind of ducks down and like does an apology wave or just doesn't even look at me or something. The end result is I'm a little annoyed. I almost got hit. A little bit of an adrenaline hike from fucking missing that. And I just drive to work. I don't even bother getting out of the car. You know, maybe I do some reactive like, what is that kind of deal in the car? But that's it. You know, like it's the entitled response that pissed me off and made me push back. It's the idea that she thinks that she has the right after almost hitting me because she wasn't paying attention and was driving improperly according to the fucking rules of driving. That she then thinks she's entitled to aggress towards me because she doesn't like that I called her on that. Doesn't like that I honked at her. Tough, you almost fucking hit me. I honked at you to literally get your attention so you'd stop and not hit me. I mean, Jesus. Absolutely, that nails the heart of my pushback. People who won't change, I doubt she wouldn't do it. And again, to anyone abusing her power to justify her action proves it's true. And abusing her power to justify her actions proves she won't change, even if you take an action to prove it wrong in a good way. It's possible to show evidence, please. I'm not trying to go to the police. I'm not trying to get her in trouble. I'm not trying to be punitive. I'm trying to get her to stop for a second and fucking think. And I don't know any way to do that except to get her attention. She also escalated. Don't care if she escalated. I wrote in caps. She was obviously in the wrong. I like to think she got home, calmed down. I hope she got home, calmed down, and realized she messed up. I hope so. I hope so. The only real variable is your reaction. I think your actions would justify the people who default to a defensive state or not accepting fault or blame is infuriating. Sure. And I doubt that I reached her, but maybe I did. And I feel like my chances of reaching her are non-zero by doing something and 0 if I don't do something. The fact that his car has changed the way people react is a unique phenomenon. Like you nearly killed someone's pedestrian, you're more likely to stress or resolve it than in your vehicle. I think cars do a little bit of what the internet does, which gives you some, you're in a shell. You don't have to interact with this as a person. You know, and again, like this comment about my physicality, I think helps reinforce that point. When someone's sitting in a car, it's just a car entity, right? The minute that the person gets out of that fucking car, now it's like, now you're evaluating this differently. I think that adds something to that, perhaps. But maybe not. What happens when I meet myself on the road? What do you mean? If I was that woman pulling out of that lot and I almost hit someone, I told you my reaction would be. I would feel embarrassed that I almost hit that person and apologetic. And I would want, and I do that. I do this already. It's like occasionally, like, you know, if I cut someone off an accident or something, I do my best to do an apologetic wave or something like that. That suggests that like, shit, I understand that I fucked up and I'm sorry. Not that, so to do the opposite, not to be intentionally that I feel entitled for that. I want to do the exact opposite. But what happens if I meet myself on the road? I pull out because I'm not paying attention. I almost hit someone. He honks at me. I feel like shit. He drives to work. Done. Interaction done. Because I'm not going to entitled honk at him because I'm in the wrong. Did I call the cops after I got hit? I didn't get hit. I'm to lift? No. As long as you didn't approach that verbally react near your vehicle, I don't believe it's over the top. Closing the gap and levering your presence, bringing into questionable territory of righteousness? I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true or not. I've had people, again, I had an incident where a woman reacted really strangely to me crossing the street on a bike. And her reaction to me was just basically, she honked at me and then glared at me. And then I stopped my bike and turned around. And then she refused to look at me ever again. Like, just like no eye contact, avoiding him kind of shit. Remember when Filthy expressed his opinion to that bridge before he moved and it really fucked up his face? Right, exactly. See, the bridge and I were having words and the bridge hit me. What did you just tune into? We were having a discussion this morning. You have a gun and aren't willing to shoot someone, you have a gun. You have a gun and aren't willing to shoot someone, you have a gun to give it to someone, not an actual weapon. Sure. But you should be really clear on, you should really know ahead of time when you're going to shoot someone or not. Like, not like, you should have some guidelines for when you want to shoot someone, Nobu. Or not. You have a service weapon, you basically never carry it with you, right? Like, and I am considering purchasing a gun. I am considering that. And a part of me, you know, like, okay, the safety is nice, the option is nice, the fact that I live in an armed society suggests that I would like some parity. But another part of me is like, I don't really want to have that level of escalation. Don't. So I don't know. Discussing that still. Thinking about it still. Actually, I would love to have that conversation as a chat, because it's a conversation that I've been having kind of a little bit with PKA guys and a little bit with the guy I was getting the gun training with. I would love to have that conversation. Maybe we have some more conversations today. I don't know. Tell you what's going on, Caesar. Oh, that's, wow, am I that far behind? Because I did that. That was 28 minutes ago. I'm 28 minutes behind chat. Fucking hell. All right, these are interesting comments then. That's cool. That's super cool. All right, I'll keep going with this. I just didn't realize I was so far behind. All right, having a weapon escalate is too much. Yeah, getting out of hand and waving a weapon would be bad. That requires to acknowledge. Did you tell them that they almost hit you? Any chance that a passenger hit the horn instead of a driver? Possibly Jang, but I have no idea. One smashed flat hand in a car window. It scares. There's no damage, right? Vaporizer. I agree with that. Are you new to be America? Doubling down when it's wrong is the definition of being American. Are you talking to me? I don't like that. I don't think doubling down when you're wrong is a trait that I want to encourage in any way, shape, or form. Again, I've just explained my philosophy on this multiple times, which is you should be open to criticism and you should be open to being able to defend your ideas. When you have a bad idea attacking your idea, you should be able to defend that. And to do that, yes, you can. There is the kind of attack option of like flooding someone with bullshit, in which case you can't get bogged down in something like that, like getting like overwhelmed by the number of things you have to disprove. That is a bullshit kind of argument tactic. But at the same time, you don't want to just close your ears to everything the other person says. Rarely is one side entirely right, and rarely is one side without any good ideas at all. Stream delay. It's not stream delay. It's just I'm catching up with chat. All right, let me get some water here. When a dude ran a stop sign and hit your side door, he jumped out and shouted, "Why didn't you swerve to avoid me?" That's bullshit, right? 10 years ago, one of my teachers was beaten to death by a raging family after he pushed their daughter with the car. The kid got not a simple scar on her, and both Kaiji never know the other case guy. Don't use caps. I value my time on every XP. Okay. All right. Agree with this whole trying to stand up for injustice as you can. I think our case, in this case, our hills to die on are a little different. Sure. Guns are scary for sure. Gun in this situation, they wouldn't have known based on how things went. You wouldn't have used it or shown the situation. Goddamn right. If I had a gun in the situation there, weighty pants ball, I would have left that in the fucking car. It would have been in the fucking glove box and we would have had no conversation about this. Or if I was carrying, it would have been on my fucking belt somewhere, hidden by clothing, and would not have in any way, shape, or form ever been taken out for that. It's not relevant to that situation. Against being armed on the road, possibly. I really like to catch up with chat here, so I'm going to maybe skim a couple of these comments that aren't directly relevant to this. Your psychology degreed husband says that his opinion either the initial action with the honking was enough or it wasn't. He doesn't think that nor I have a psychology degree too, Nobu. I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, if you want to pull like, you know, appeal to authority as an argument, and you want to appeal to the authority that I'm an authority in as well, sure, we can have that discussion. But I don't necessarily agree with that. Because again, like, what are my options? My options are to avoid it, in which case the likelihood of change is 0. Or my option is to address it, in which case the likelihood of change is more than 0. It might be low, and there is a risk analysis, and that risk analysis changes based on who they are, who I am, what is in the situation, guns, etc. But there's still, if my option is 0 or something, the something is a more likely outcome.
Another poor fool.
Thanks for the gifted subs, Calric.
In time and space.
Discuss a well thought out argument in the age of the internet. What you do now is that you only get opinions you agree with fed by an algorithm optimized for engagement. Are you saying you're an algorithm, Spleam, and that you only encourage me and give me opinions? I'm not sure what you're saying with that. I mean, we're here as a community talking. All right. Save the law enforcement of road rules for law enforcement. But there's no law enforcement here, Dramaticus. There's never going to be law enforcement. I'm not reporting this to police. If I do report it, it's my word versus her word. No police are in the area. This is just gonna. This just happened. It happened. It was an occurrence. And if I learned anything in this last year, it's that law enforcement is a very not law enforcement as a whole, but that law enforcement often is not the answer to a number of things that happen. I had my bike stolen in fucking plain view, and law enforcement can do nothing about that. Right? Nothing. And there's what else has happened with that? Like the escalations of like things around my house, my property being vandalized, with etc. You know, there's a bunch of things that have happened that are below whatever trigger it is where law enforcement is going to be usefully involved in some way. And you still have to deal with these situations, right? So I'm not trying to enforce the law. I didn't get out of the car to be like, you're under arrest, citizens arrest for almost hitting me here. I got out to deal with her entitlement, to deal with the idea that she thinks she's in the right when she did something wrong, and then she aggresses after it. That's why I got out of the vehicle. I'm not engaging with that, no ceiling. Why did I pick this as a battle? It seems fairly minor to you. Because it's the entitlement that aggravates me, Rice. And this is a very clear example of entitlement. You needed to reintroduce the threat of negative response to her being a jerk and escalating something public without any threat of response. She would have just gone her own way, yeah. A honk isn't visceral enough. It's more along the lines of she took the honk as a justification for her honking at me. I literally honked so she didn't hit me. You know, min-max a chance to make her reflects on it. I think a little honk and a flip-off. A flip-off accomplishes nothing, right? A flip-off is literally just someone saying, you know, fuck you. Fuck you in that scenario doesn't help at all, right? Or afraid or angry or less likely to respond receptive to new ideas, sure, but she doesn't reflect on it later. Would you behave the same pre-COVID, you think? I hadn't even thought about that. What do you think is the impact of COVID here, Reduced Silver? I know it's a late comment respond, I'm sorry. 20 minutes behind comments. Fuck! How am I so far behind? All right. Maybe because there's a lot to think about here. Filthy hates people who use solar energy and wind? Why? Why would I hate people who use solar energy and wind? Chances of single interaction with stranger causing lasting change are probably very low. Sure. I've never heard the term communal. Yeah, I've never heard the term communal resources. Huh. Oh, that's okay. Once I had an accident with a motorcycle. Okay. Once I had an accident in which a motorcycle turned on my blind spot while I was turning right and he hit me. His probably girlfriend fell and I got out of the car. The guy wanted to escalate and say something about my car. I said, fuck the car. Are you guys all right? They were, and I just walked away. My car was scratched, but nobody being dead was a relief. Sure. That's a really, really cool. That's a very cool response to have in that situation. Be like, I'm not concerned about my property damage. I want to make sure you're okay. What a great ability for you to be cognitively in that moment for that time, as opposed to assigning blame. Kudos to you, man. There's a host of issues with how cars are treated and also how drinking is handled in the US. Sure. Problem is a social issue. Okay. To achieve victory, simply appear to give your opponent what he wants and he will go away. Not when you're trying to make behavior change. Tragedy of commons. Yep, you should look up the tragedy of commons. Tragedy of commons is something that bothers me a lot. If people are passive in the situation, doesn't that in some way justify your response at championing for those who are uncomfortable with confrontation? I don't know. I'm not trying to be a champion of a cause here. I'm trying to be actionally coherent with my beliefs is what I'm trying to do here. What I see is that when people are in an emotionally elevated state, they aren't in their state to listen to anything that you have to say. But again, Stutters, what are we comparing it to? This seems really important to me for that criticism. Sure. She's not in the most receptive of spots in that moment. 100% agree. And if I have criticisms of my own behavior there, it's certainly that I'm not cognitively at my best there either. But if I just let it pass on by, what are my chances of changing? So I get it. Compared to her normal state, my chances of making any inroads with a argument or a criticism or a discussion are lowered. So here's normal. Here's where we are in that situation. And here's where we are if I do fucking nothing. So I get it. Reduced chance, but it's still better than what I'm comparing it to, right? Added Karen to Urtuk, yep. Okay, I think I'm almost caught up, still behind. Okay, you guys talking among yourselves, probably because I'm not answering you guys fast enough. Makes sense. Personally, I wouldn't have done anything because overall no one was hurt and I don't really care enough. But in general, I'm not an escalator. And typically when I get cut off, almost hit, it's usually high traffic. So stopping my car and trying to get them out of their car and getting out of my car is much too risky. Yeah, for sure. This was a situation where I could actually respond. I'm not going to delve deeper into this since it was unintentional drama, but it happens to the majority of people. There's a bigger problem going on. On to someone else. Missed the first comment. After 15 years of being involved with combat sports, boxing, Muay Thai, the consequence of escalating a fight argument or apparent brain damage or you to them isn't worth it. Try to sit someone down if they're an asshole, likely yes, but not worth it. Obviously, this wasn't part of the scenario this time. For sure, I absolutely run a non-zero risk of doing things like of escalating. 100%. Don't disagree whatsoever. Cat agrees with you 70%, so I think 7 out of 10 times it happens you get out of the car. I'm not necessarily looking for chat to agree or disagree. I would like to, it's the quality of the agreement or disagreement that I care about, right? It's the quality of the idea being presented by chat about this. Easy, like low quality or answerable criticisms are one thing. They don't make me change my decision or my beliefs or my change on that. Unanswerable or better quality criticism might make me rethink what to do with that. You're not wrong, maybe not right. I don't know what that means. Why don't I carry? I don't really want a weapon on me particularly. I don't like the... Maybe it's in part of how I think about escalation of emotional responses. Like, you could very easily, by escalating a situation where I have a weapon on me, then I run the higher risk of using that weapon, right? And using that weapon inappropriately because I'm escalated emotionally, right? So what is the outcome of me... Like, if I get pissed off physically, probably, like, when I just have no weapon, probably pretty minor, even when I'm very angry. Was there a potential this was a mother-daughter relationship and she was learning? I don't think so, but I'm not entirely certain. Certainly she didn't express it. They were both fairly, like, in their probably 30s women, so I doubt it. Who's trolling? Maybe I misread your comments, but I don't think so. It wasn't big. Height-wise, I'm tall, sure, but I'm not a particularly broad or I'm not a very big guy. I have physical presence since I'm tall, and I'm certainly emotive, but I'm not a particularly large presence physically. 6'2" gang stand up, damn straight. Sure, angry people are super threatening. Didn't you enforce this by making a call to the local PD, alerting them multiple drivers are failing to yield? No, it wasn't multiple drivers. It was a person doing this. It's a fucking shitty turning spot, anyways, Jang. It's a blind corner. And my point is not that people are potentially having trouble here. My point is that this person was fucking entitled as shit about it. Here's a personal truth. Being short has probably made me more likely to do crazy shit than I was 6 foot tall. Yeah, I call it Napoleon complex, right? I think it's good to be aware of your size, and as a dude, you can be different from physical reaction. Yeah, and I think it, you know, there's times where I do pull that card, Nobu, where I do pull the card of, hey, I'm 6 foot fucking 2. Particularly when people are being extremely disrespectful for me, then that's something that I pulled in the past, right? Which is like, you want to keep fucking cutting me off, giving me bullshit, like, there's a repercussion to that. I'm not just going to sit here and take it, and I'm a 6 foot 2 dude, for sure. Don't give a fuck, man. Just be aggressive, and if you really... Just be aggressive when your life or people you really care about in danger. My life wasn't in danger here, post-fact. Choosing to escalate this post-fact, sure, like, absolutely. 100% fight for your fucking life. I'm certainly not at all morally conflicted about fighting for my life when my life is threatened. But that's not the scenario we're discussing here at all, right? You're not prepared to deal with, if you're not prepared to deal with crazy armed people stay in the car, that's my opinion as an expert. I don't know what your expertise is, and I don't know morally if that's where I want to be either. Again, you know, if the situation arises where they pop out of the car and point a gun at me and say, shut the fuck up, get back in your car, I'm probably shutting the fuck up and getting back in my car. Because the risk versus reward becomes totally disproportionate. If the risk versus reward is I have a verbal altercation or maybe a physical altercation, sometimes the risk versus reward is okay. I don't think it's as clear cut as if you're not willing to die for this cause, never fucking voice an opinion. Can you imagine that? Your wife is like, do you want bacon or pancakes this morning? And you're like, I'm not prepared to die for my decision. I will not voice any opinion whatsoever. Give me a break, man. That's not life. Pick your move as an act of aggression that will overcome any learning you wish to impart. Not necessarily. People can learn while being aggressed upon. Escalation is most. I mean, when someone punches you in the head and it hurts, you realize you learned something right there, right? When you mouth off to some big guy and he hits you and it hurts, you go, "Oh, I learned something." I don't think aggression in of itself prevents learning. Ultimately, I think you're in the right pursuit. I don't think a defeatist aptitude can really offer anything. Go, yeah, I think I'm there too, but I'm waiting. I'm listening to other opinions too and discussing things because I find this discussion interesting. She's pregnant or shot. Should call the ambulance. Sure. What if Filthy was a cute, adorable puppy? Yeah, exactly. Fei Long, right? You played Urtuk at all since your last binge many months ago? Nope. Start a conversation. Getting out of the car is a bad idea. You're better off taking the plate and denounce it. Who am I denouncing it to? The deity AI around me? Like, what do you mean denounce it? A letter complaining? I'm not trying to get her in trouble, and I'm not trying to change the rules of the parking lot. I'm trying to get her to think for half a fucking second, or at the very least, not be walked over. So maybe I'm not even getting her to think. Maybe I'm just pushing back on the fact that this is some entitled person fucking trying to walk over me, and I'm not planning on being walked over. Thanks, Weighty Pants Balls. I appreciate that comment. I have to deal with potentially violent confrontations daily in ER, and you're right to think that practicing in your mind and thinking about how you want to act in the future will help the next time. I hope so. I don't know any other way to deal with it. Getting punched isn't Filthy's fault. The person punching made the decision. I don't agree with that entirely either, Nobu. Someone threatens violence and you say, okay, I accept your threat of violence, but I'm not changing my behavior. I understand. I'm contributing to getting punched. Whether or not there's fault or justification in that, I understand that I am upping the chance of being hit. If you haven't been hit in anger by someone and you're missing out, I wouldn't go that far personally. Yelling at a woman makes you manly? No. It's not a matter of yelling at a woman makes me manly. I would have gotten out for a dude in the car too, man. Like it wasn't anything to do with their gender. It was everything to do with their behavior. And yes, I would take a higher risk getting out and yelling at a man for sure. And maybe there's some guy I wouldn't yell at. I don't know what that would look like, but I could imagine a scenario where I'm just like, fuck, this guy's totally in the wrong, but I'm gonna get shot if I get out here. Being punched as bad as they say? I don't know. I don't know what they say about being punched. Sometimes it doesn't hurt at all, and sometimes it hurts a lot. I think it depends on the puncher. Brute force is the last refuge of the incompetent. Getting hit because someone can't respond to your argument rationally isn't exactly damning evidence. Brute force is the last refuge of the incompetent. I don't know. Maybe the inarticulate. All right. If he had a gun during this, the lady wouldn't have known exactly. Being married inform your risk at all? Probably should, right? But I don't know that it does that much. It informs my risk when I'm in the presence of my wife. Not because it changes my behavior because I'm ashamed or not ashamed, but because I'm more aware of her as a vulnerability. Very unlikely that her reaction was a conscious choice for honking her horn. Maybe I'm taking that comment out of context, right? I mean, it was very much a fucking... How is it not a conscious choice to honk your horn? You acted because you were angry, triggered as you said. Now you're trying to over-rationalize it. Look, you talked for almost an hour now. Why do you have to make your emotional response look rational? I think I've answered that a couple of times, Club of Gore. I want to... Again, because... Again, think about this for a fucking second in your life. Do you believe that you are a robot who walks through life with no emotional response whatsoever? If you say no to that and you go, shit, I'm a human being, I have emotions, then you have to understand what those emotions do and how to react to those emotions. Some things you won't change. You won't change that some of your brain chemistry reacts to your emotional state. You won't be able to change that adrenaline is going to short circuit some of your, or rather, it's not even short circuit. I mean, maybe it's short circuit. I'm not sure 100% what that means on a engineering kind of thing. But some of the things that happen in your body are not consciously controllable, or if they are consciously controllable only through repetition and training. So some of these reactions are essentially hardwired reactions that are going to occur to you. You can't just say, well, then I throw my arms up in the air and I take no responsibility and make no attempt to influence those outcomes. I mean, you can, but you essentially are a defeatist attitude for your own personal development. Why can I not hold the idea that this is how I reacted, here's the reasons why I reacted, and I want to make sure that I do the best I can with the scenario being presented to me in the future, including the the change in my body chemistry of being on like adrenaline high or something like this, right? I'm trying to get her to change her mind or think about the situation is very irrational. I think getting walked over is not something I wish to encourage in my life. Missed a lot, Triple P? Yeah, it's been an interesting conversation. And this has really affected me. Breathe deep. Again, I'm not conflict averse, and I like heated discussion and I like debate. I don't want to calm down in the sense that I'm happy to continue at this level of engagement. This level of engagement is enjoyable for me. I like being engaged by things on this degree of intensity. And it's funny too, because this has been both a boon in my life and a pain and a detriment to my life, right? So again, like if we take that last discussion about, well, you're clearly reacted and you're looking for justification. No, I want to harness this in a way that helps my life and diminish the negative impact of my life. The same with intensity. Intensity has a lot of really good, positive things in your life when you understand it better. And this does change over my life, over the course of my life. Me having this tendency towards intensity has had some negative reactions, and it changes sometimes how I interact with people. Sometimes I do things like point out the behavior ahead of time, like, hey, this is a topic I'm really excited about. I'm going to get very animated here. My animation is not an attack on you. My animation is an excitement of the topic. Something like that I sometimes have to say to people because I can sometimes see people reacting in a scared manner because I'm passionate or animated about something. I like being passionate and animated about something, and it's not inherently threatening when someone is passionate about something. There's lots of pros to come with that. But part of my life has been like, how do I mitigate the cons of that while still reaping the benefits of that? And to just say like, breathe deep and don't experience, I don't want to live a life where I'm not experiencing anything. Punishments and fines for a reason. I had an accident a few years ago and almost got screwed over because I thought we didn't need the police because no one was hurt. We didn't have an accident. There was no impact one way or the other. Good job. Okay, why I think this is trolling. If you don't like to stay silent against justice, you carry a gun. I don't get why you think this is trolling. If you don't like to stay silent against injustice, you should carry a gun just in case, because you're obviously increasing your risk of being harmed if you're confrontational personally. Obviously, you don't want to shoot anyone or pull a gun. I guess, Settler, I assumed it was trolling because you were so adamant on trolling during the democracy streams. So you have a title of a troll in our channel and have been timed out for trolling. And your comments as they were presented were inflammatory comments without much of a response. Like that comment, the one I just read out loud, has been by far the least trolly comment you put because you're essentially justifying your opinion as opposed to just posting something confrontational. For all this conversation, what I learned is I should not have a weapon nor a car because I would lose my patience and run someone over. Yes, Shinigami, I think that's a really good take. And I know it's a weird thing to say because I'm just sitting here talking about like not being walked over. But yes, you should know yourself enough that you make an informed decision on that. If you are a person, this is like I want to bring this to a really weird topic for a second, right? This is like the Raid sponsorship, the Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. If you are a person with an addictive, like a gambling addictive personality, you should stay away from gambling. You should know this about yourself as soon as you possibly can. You should not put yourself in that situation to which you are uniquely vulnerable. So you're right. If you're a person who is prone to escalating or prone to violence, that in of itself isn't a negative. But you should definitely be aware of how that affects you. There's going to be situations where that's beneficial and there's going to be situations where it's negative. And you should do your absolute best to reduce those situations that are going to be problematic for you based on your temperament. Absolutely. Knowing yourself is a huge part of fucking life. It's one of the few enjoyable things about getting older is you have more self-knowledge and you can act on the self-knowledge. That's the other piece. It's no good just knowing the self-knowledge. It's then incorporating that into how you approach life. I don't understand how to get better at life without that. So far behind chat, I'll never see this. I'm not. I'm just catching up. Read articles about concealed carry and open carry. Just the known presence of a weapon increases the tension level in any situation. Sure. Rename the stream. Revisiting. I'm not going to rename the stream. To be fair, it's a weird thing. Legally, apparently, you're never supposed to apologize when a crash happens for insurance purposes. What a shitty thing. Do women have good ideas? No. Don't share your weapon unless it... Okay. Okay, you're just explaining what happened. Jesus, we're so far behind. Get into an armed interaction, does that statistically impact the probability of a violent outcome? Yes, it does. It statistically increases the probability of a violent outcome. Are you really safer, or is it just that you feel safer? It's one of my major sticking points with firearms as self-defense argument. I don't know. I don't know the data on if you're armed and they're not armed. Is the outcome more likely for you to result in personal harm? So I guess that, I think, is the counter to that, Narada, is yes. If you're armed or they're armed, statistically, there's a higher probability of a violent outcome. Absolutely. You might be safer if you're armed and they're not armed, and there's still, and you could simultaneously be safer there and there be more chance of a violent outcome, right? Oh, and you immediately, like 2 lines later, sorry, I didn't see this. If both parties are armed, are you safer? I don't know. I don't know what the research says on that. I think not. I think you're both pretty fucked in that case. All the gun conversation is irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the existing conversation for sure. People don't tend to become angry because they're right. They probably honked and engaged you because they were wrong. Sure. But it's not appropriate behavior, and I want to push back and challenge that behavior. I've seen the movie Unhinged? No, but I love, there's 2 songs that I really like that are, that have a mentality of this. There's a Bloodhound Gang song about a guy who gets cut off in traffic that I find fucking hilarious. And there's a new song that's being played on the radio all the time around me about a woman who's like, she sings for like 20 minutes about like, she sings for like 3 minutes about how she wishes all these positive things for this guy in his next relationship, and then follows it up with, I hope then that woman who you having all these positive experiences with cheats on you. And these are both vindictive style songs, which I find hilarious, but I'm not endorsing that, and the behavior I took here was not that, but I do find that idea fucking hilarious sometimes, of singing about it. It's such a weird medium, right? Like song for that. Like, anyways. I saw your comment, Bale, about your country. What would have been the highest expected value play in this situation, you ignoring societal consequences? I want her to, the highest expected value. Okay, so all possible outcomes, what is the outcome that has the best outcome from my perspective? I get out of my car and yell at her, and she stops whatever fucking behavior that was where she honks at me because she thinks she's right and goes, fuck, I was wrong here. And there's cost for me aggressing when I'm wrong. So I guess my highest expected value is next time she accidentally fucks up, she doesn't attempt to take the moral high ground of, I fucked up, but I'm going to get angry. So she just fucks up, owns that she fucked up, and moves on. The highest expected value is next time she pulls out in front of me. She almost, or rather doesn't pull out in front of me, almost hits me on the side as I'm going by. And I honk, and she shows some sort of behavior that suggests that she understands she's wrong. She doesn't honk. Maybe she avoids eye contact or apologetically waves. Or I had a person, let me give you an example of this, right? I was biking home from work a couple months ago, and I'm in a bike lane. There's a bike lane in my street, and maybe I could draw it here. I'm in a bike lane, right? And I cross an intersection, and this guy, I'm on a bike, in a bike lane. The bike lane is right here, and then there's the road, right? So the bike lane's closer to the curb. And this person pulls out in front of me, and I'm in the bike lane, so they could just pull in front of me and get into the road. It'd be a little bit annoying. I maybe swerve and I'm okay kind of deal. And then cut straight into the bike lane to park. And so basically cuts me off twice and almost hits me, right? And as I go by him, he rolls down his window and says, I'm real sorry, man. I didn't see you, I'm real sorry. And shouts this at me as I go by. And I turned around on my bike and thanked him for saying that. Turned around and said, hey man, I really appreciate you saying that. And then biked home. Because shit, he made a mistake, it was accidental, he owned that mistake, he let me know that it wasn't intentional. What a great reaction. What a great fucking reaction. Kudos to that guy. Made my night, quite honestly. He almost fucking hit me and he still made my night. I know some people never learn, even if I confront them in the problem. I still believe in confronting the dilemma, trying to make the person learn. Yeah, I myself know that raising my voice is not always the correct thing to do. I feel you did the right thing and you acknowledge that you can improve your communication. I've tried many different ways and I've learned when to be aggressive, when to be cool, right? Exactly, AFK killer, and I'm not going to get this experience without doing it, I don't think. Personally, I think it's more about a cost versus benefit. Things to change to happen. The cost of the small change of change your behaviors. I wasted hours of my life thinking about something. I didn't waste this, Triple P. It's weird that chat seems to think that this discussion is a negative. Someone, I think Nobu said this too, right? She's lived in my head rent free for X amount of time. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying articulating my thoughts about this, having them discussed, and hearing chat's thoughts about it. To me, that's a plus. Can't fix stupid. Nothing you do would help the situation. Nothing but raising my blood pressure. You had zero probability of changing entitlement. I had a non-zero chance of changing her entitlement, actually. And if I'd done nothing, I would have had a 0 chance. Comparatively, right, who knows what the percentage change is, but it's definitely an increase, right? I guess you can't percentage change 0, but in the sense of like I have a non-zero chance here. And the cost to me isn't high for this. Ignoring the specific situation, why do I personally feel empowered to check what you perceive as other people's entitlement? Where do you draw the line between standing up for your beliefs and lacking context on other people's worldview to make a reasonable decision? I can't answer that in the broad IGGTI. I think that's almost an individual situation. Here, it's a very clear situation. She was in the wrong from a traffic violation and then in the wrong from a social interaction. She did something wrong and then aggressed socially as if she had the right to aggress for being wronged when she wasn't wronged. So here in this situation, it's very clear, and it's a very clear one to get upset with. There's no way that she's justifiably right here without some extremely extenuating circumstances on her side that we have no evidence, no reason to believe it. Frig hardcore confirmed killing a man over bacon. The point is the same, right? Like you don't, it's such an exaggeration, but it's, sure, it's an exaggeration to make a point, absolutely. But the idea is still, the mentality being pushed for that example was just, unless you're willing to die, keep your mouth shut. And I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of stuff between not worth your effort and you're gonna die if you confront it. There's a whole fucking range in the middle. Is it a cry for help? No. You risk exposure. If a risk exposed you to criminal liability, wouldn't risking it for almost no benefit make the decision irrational? How am I exposed for criminal liability getting out of my car and yelling at someone? What crime have I committed?
A new subscriber arrives. It fills
Hey,
you
Diki.
with determination.
Thank you, Tonboyd, for the sub. Isn't this an Urtuk stream? Not yet. Change the stream category to just honking. Funny comment. Filthy, last thought on this from JB. He says, you're a happy, healthy, productive person. Are a better benefit to your family, friends, and greater community than potential behavioral corrections as other person. But I become less of these things if I don't stand up for what I believe in, JB. I become less of if I allow things that I care about to be walked over. I think they're possible. They are capable of reflecting on their actions today. Again, I've answered this 55 times, which is I think the probability of them reflecting on their actions is higher because of the actions I took than if I'd taken no actions. You think it's a fearsome problem? Why waste energy on someone else if you got stuff to reflect about? Just because chat doesn't choose to reflect about strangers doesn't mean they don't do it to themselves. I don't know what they mean. As long as you're standing up yourself, which in my opinion always seems like a good idea, but situation probably differs on how to best approach it. That last statement was pretty nice about growing old in self-knowledge. Thanks, man. If self-knowledge leads to adjustment, wouldn't you have to relearn yourself ad infinitum? Yes, absolutely. The life is fucking iterative, Kephius. Absolutely, life is iterative. This is why people. It's so many things about that comment, right? This is why young people are entirely fucking useless because they're still learning this shit, and some of them learn it faster or worse. But everyone's got to learn this shit, right? You absolutely have to perpetually reinvent your life as you incorporate previous experience, reflect on that, try to address that, try to make that coherent with what you're trying to do in your life, and then reincorporate that into behavior. Absolutely. I don't know any other way to do life. Slow mode till filthy picks up. I don't know. So is this a discussion about a situation you made up your mind about completely? No. No, dude. I don't know why I keep having to answer the same stupid questions, right? If you think I haven't made up my mind completely about fucking anything, right? That's the point. The point is that you're all. It's like it's a battle of ideas always, and the best ideas should win, and that's a process that's always ongoing. I think with one or both parties being armed resulting in escalation is the reason why most cops in the UK are unarmed. It's an interesting idea. That's unfortunately not the society I live in. This has actually been super interesting. Good. I'm glad. This has been interesting to me as well. This is why I'm having the conversation, even though chat seems to think that I am causing harm to myself by discussing things that I find interesting. To that armed versus unarmed argument, there's a higher statistic for you to get shot with your own weapon, especially high during a home invasion. I don't know if that's an honest discussion of that problem though, right? Because there's an issue of outcomes too. Anyways, I don't know. I have read some stuff on that, heard some stuff from that, but I don't consider myself well enough informed to have very good statistical arguments about what is higher or worse, higher or lower, and why that is. I think there's lots to think about philosophically from what you want and what outcomes you allow and the risks of those, but I don't have the statistics to back that up. My problem with this topic action of yours is the other person would be a person who can... Wait, hold on. My problem with this topic / action of yours, if the other person would be a person who you can argue or have an effect on, even maybe just to think on what she did, would be someone who cares in the first place, like throwing her hand, etc. There's no reason to argue with stupid, or to argue stupid. We don't know that. I mean, that's a pretty strong negative statement about this person. You think there's no potential for this human being to change? Do you think that of all people? It's a pretty fatalistic view, isn't it? With that attitude, has already forgotten about this while you're talking about it now. Sure. I'm not necessarily gonna change everyone, but I have a better chance of changing someone than not. Or rather, by doing something, I have a better chance to change something that I care about than not to change, than I would if I did nothing, right? What a great guy, commenting about the story about the guy who cut me off. Yeah, I agree. I mean, what a wonderfully human thing to do. To go, I fucked up, I'm really sorry, it wasn't intentionally designed to harm you. That diffuses that situation entirely for me, right? I go from pissed off this guy just cut me off and nearly killed me, to immediately like, shit, he's human, he owned it, he immediately reacted. What a great guy, I agree 100%. This discourse, yes. Maybe not doing something would make her think twice in the comment about this later on. Maybe, but I think it's less likely. You seem to assume your actions can only result in a positive outcome or reflection from the other person. You have a higher chance of positive things. ALTO, A-L-T-O, I don't know what that means. You have higher chance of positive things happening in her mind. The opposite might be true. You think she's gonna double down on shitty behavior? Maybe, but I don't think so. Will Filthy Destiny be on the stream more often? I like having intellectual conversations. You're literally teaching your girlfriend, future wife, to calm down during arguments and explain herself? Yeah, I do a lot of that in my relationship too. A lot of either acknowledging in that moment that I'm not in a good situation to have a conversation and coming back to it, or alternatively using shortcuts for both of us to get out of that situation. To mentally distance ourselves from the impact of that situation right now so we can be our better selves when we're actually fucking having conversations about it. It's a really good relationship tip as well. Love to play games for an hour and you're still talking about it. Also, will this be on YouTube? Can we get a whole video on this subject? Yeah, hopefully. I mean, my editor's pretty good, so I bet you he picks it up on his own, but I'll ping him and ask. People double down on being wrong. There's no actual ground to stand on. Ideally, people that make mistakes actively work on them. Exactly. Sometimes an emotional response is rational. If she's got more at stake in the argument than you do. If you're listening, being angry or frustrated is rational, sure, but you also want outcomes, right? Comment about police arming. I'm probably not going to touch right now. Don't understand. Cat doesn't understand that society means participating in it, and it includes thinking about what you've done and will be doing. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Especially if you have. I mean, if you do your bare minimum, you like fucking vote, and then you you be you and do your best to be a better you. I don't know what else. I mean, like, those seems like the bare minimum. You start a podcast, you discuss stuff like this more often. I enjoy having conversations about this. I just don't think a situation often arises to have these conversations about being repetitive. You're a municipal prosecutor for a while. In many places, fighting is a misdemeanor. It doesn't require a determination that you swung first. If you escalate by getting into your car and someone else escalates by punching, you risk criminal liability. That might be true. I've heard that too. Like, I was talking with, again, with the gun training guy who was talking to me, and I brought up the bat. You know, my dad has always brought up this issue to me, which is like, you know, we've had discussions about ownership of gun. And he said at some point, he's like, you know, I'd rather just have a bat. He's like, with a bat, maybe I hurt this person or I hit this person and I do damage, but I don't kill them. And the gun guy, when responding to that point, told me essentially, he was like, yeah, but the law sees those as equally dangerous, that both are considered a lethal weapon. And by bringing a lethal weapon into the mix, you have to play by a very specific set of rules. In other words, although it seems inherently obvious to us as individuals that a bat is less dangerous than a gun on average, that isn't a justifiable defense in the law, and that you have to justify your actions the same